The Mad Bomber podcast is coming at you live from sunny San Diego. You're watching the Mad Bomber podcast.
Good snap, good hold, good protection, and just elation from Pete Carroll, who's had a rough go at it this year, and so have the Raiders, but sometimes you got to find a way to finish. And this Raiders team looking to do just that with only a handful of seconds left for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, yesterday, I was there at that game with my grandkids. My grandkids and my son came with me to the game, and we did the face paint. We got into the game, got to the Modelo Zone a little bit early. I wanted this was their very first Raider game, guys. And so the whole week we've been talking about what are we going to do? How are we going to root? Who are we going to root for? Because they were confused a little bit. They're like, Papa, I thought you wanted Fernando Mendoza. And I'm like, I never said that, allegedly. But they got to go to the game. It was a very, very eerie feeling getting to the game. There was a lot of Chiefs fans. I went to the Dark Side tailgate. And again, Jesus, this is just amazing place. Next year, we're going to be pumping the Dark Side tailgate because that is the ultimate place to go watch the pregame and to eat like a Piaggi pig. There was the air was a little different. There was lots of Raider fans who were very, we want to lose, we want to lose, we want to lose. There was a lot of ribbing the KC fans. Hey, don't screw it up for us. You better not screw it up for us. And the KC fans, they were usually they're pretty chest out and kind of bravado, you know. It was they were there, but they weren't there like they usually are there. They have their tails between their legs just to be wee bit. So walking into the game, I look up at the red zone, and when I was going into the game, I think it was 10-9 Dallas Giants game is what I'm speaking about. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess we'll see what happens, right? And then I look on my phone, and I believe it was 24-10 or 24-13. Regardless, I don't remember the exact score. So sat down. I have the NFL app on my phone, and I'm watching the game feverishly. And there's calls being made on both sides that I was like, I mean, it was like a playoff game for me watching the game. And the stadium's filling up, and we're sitting down. Our $2.99 hot dogs are just pumping. We got the relish. One of the kids, I won't say which one, didn't have relish on, but that's okay. That's okay. You know, it's they're apprentices. We got to get them to become journeymen. So we're watching it, and there it is. The Giants score a touchdown. They pick off Joe Milton. Hey, is everybody out there who wanted Joe Milton? Are you guys still? I haven't heard from you. The Joe Milton. Where's the Joe Milton people? If you're out there, chime in, because on the Mad Bomber podcast, I heard a lot about Joe Milton coming to the Raiders with Malik Willis. And if you still want Joe Milton, good for you. So it goes final. I look and I'm like, no way. And I'm going, tum, 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 tum. I'm pumped because just like this gentleman right here, this is what I was thinking.
In the air at night, the stars were bright, Fernando. They were shining Fernando.
So that's one of those things where you're like, oh my. So now it's like, let's win this game. Everybody was in win this game. But what I will say, for the Raider fans who were at the game, when they showed final on my phone, I was like, yeah. And I didn't hear much. I heard a blazing roar, like maybe when Dylan Lobby gets on the field, but it was nothing. And then right before they put the game on, right before the game's getting ready to start, coin toss, boom, 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 out goes the lights. they put the score up and they show highlights of how they won. And there was a roar like if Stone Forsyth was being announced. It was like, yeah. And I was like, what's going on? Because if that, I've been in Oakland where we've clinched a playoff. I've been in Oakland when the Denver, Kansas City, San Diego loses in a regular game, any kind of game. It was like, holy guacamole. The whole fans just like high-fiving each other. The black holes just jumping up and down. And there was nothing. And I was a little upset, but I get it. There was a lot of first-time fans there because I saw like my grandkids were there and I saw a lot of little ones there. So I'm going to give the Raiders, Raider fans a pass on that one. It was a happy day. It was a happy day, very happy day. And we get the number one pick. And there's some semantics. I don't want to explain it, but we don't get the 33rd because we tied with other teams. They actually get the first pick of the second round and then the following. So we'll go over that in detail later. But if you guys haven't heard, if you guys were under a rock today or anything like that, there was a new, we're going to be getting a new coach. There will no longer be, Pete Carroll will no longer be on the sidelines. And I'm going to bring in the Oracle, brought to you by Johnny's Donuts Part 2. Oracle, I woke up this morning and I'm on my way back home from Vegas and I'm listening to the morning tailgate from the Raiders radio, which I love. And I see that I hear they were interviewing Eric Allen. They call it the Monday morning cornerback. And I heard Vinny go, Pete's gone. And then they went into that. So that was kind of crazy to see that Pete was gone. And then all of us were waiting. We heard there was going to be a press conference and at 2:00 from John Spytek, which the Oracle and I were definitely on top of. So watching the game yesterday, and how did everything transpire to you? And what was your feelings? Because you usually have a good take on that kind of an instance. I mean, I know you were definitely with bated breath watching all the games and all the players, but that game in particular, what was your command like yesterday?
Well, I thought the Raiders got to have their cake and eat it too. The Giants winning that, getting a win, securing 4 wins, allowing the Raiders to have the number 1 pick right before the kickoff, I thought was phenomenal for the Raiders because now they could kind of play the game without any pressure of do we win or do we lose? Maybe not pressure for them, but for the fan base. For the game, 2 things. Number 1, I thought Tyree Wilson, and even though he got to go up against a lot of backups on the offensive line, he had a heck of a game. That was to me, the best game he played this season. I don't know about his Raider career in entirety, but he looked like a man possessed yesterday for all 4 quarters of the game because in the 4th quarter, he got that strip sack that turned into a safety. So it was really nice to see him go out with a bang, and a guy who's been very underwhelming the past 3 years of his Raider career go out and really make a difference in the game defensively for them. Offensively, I thought Aiden O'Connell had some moments where he made some really good throws. There was the wheel route to Michael Mayer that he made. That was a really good throw. There was the comeback route to Trey Tucker. That was a really good throw. Both of those were on 3rd downs too. There's a run that he made on a 3rd down that I know upset you a little bit, Johnny.
We'll look at that.
Going back and looking at the film, he definitely could have picked up that 1st down and was a little disappointed by that. But overall, I'm really happy that the Raiders got to get their number 1 overall pick. And, now we got a big game on Friday between Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza, where it kind of feels like those 2 guys. Oh, it's so nice to see Fernando Mendoza in a Raider uniform with the Cuban flag.
How did that happen? Hold on, the Cuban flag. You caught that. Yes.
I did catch that. Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're going to have a Calle Ocho down in on the Las Vegas Strip right after the draft, but We'll see what happens. And then Dante Moore, who got a win against Texas Tech. I wasn't blown away by his play against Texas Tech. I didn't think there wasn't really a whole lot of plays where I'm like, oh my God, this is the number 1 overall pick. But, he gets to go on the same field as Fernando Mendoza. We get to see them a side-by-side comparison. And I'm really excited for that because I think it's going to bring a lot more clarity for the draft pick the Raiders are going to make this April. And the last thing I'll say is it was really nice to see Pete Carroll get a win for what's probably his last NFL career game. He looked very happy after that win. In my opinion, he's a Hall of Famer for what he's done.
Yes.
But it was just really nice to see kind of a nice send-off gift right there.
Okay. But let's go backwards and let's go ahead and see what Tyree did.
Towards the top of the screen, and that's the direction he looks. But Bouchel is blasted in the end zone for a safety. In the games, in the meeting rooms, he's unbelievable, one of a kind. Snap count right.
Yeah, it does feel like a well-attended bowl game that you see this time of year.
Heavy tight end set with Tunyon in motion. Oladokin pats the ball and loses it. Punched out behind midfield. Wilson forced the fumble. Still a scramble for it. It's Raider football. Technique, we call this a chase down set. You close the space to the edge rusher, and sometimes they find a way to turn that short corner. 3rd down and 1.
Along the far side, Oladokin stumbled, might have lost it. He said it was down. At least that's the call from the far side.
That's been a gripe.
There's a fumble recovered by Las Vegas. First down.
Towards the top of the screen, and that's the direction he looks. But Bouchel is blasted in the end zone for a safety. And Tyree Wilson off the edge. Wow. And there's number 9, Tyree Wilson at the bottom of the screen. There's that chip. And literally, like I talked about earlier, Chu Godric got beat on a chip earlier.
So that was something that was a really positive and very active yesterday, along with Malcolm Kuntz was very active. And I'll tell you what, what's up, Dan R? ¿Qué pasa, amigo?
What's up, Dan? I hope he likes my picture.
Did you fix the picture? Because
I fixed the picture for him. Yeah, hopefully he's
arguably one of the most upset customers I've ever had on the Bad Barber podcast. So what I noticed about there was another player which played very, very well yesterday. That was Tommy Eichenberg. He actually saved a 3rd down play when what's the quarterback's name? I can't pronounce it very well.
Chris Aludikin.
Is that what it is? Okay. He was going back, and Tommy Eichenberg was coming on a scrape, and he jumped up and knocked the ball away in the air because Kareem Hunt was going to go for a while. So good play, really, really good play by the defense. And let's get back to Pete Carroll a little bit. Pete Carroll, I don't, we've always talked about what kind of team the Raiders were going to be, what kind of identity they have. And this kind of makes me feel, and again, we're not kicking the guy on the way out the door, but we're also talking about what he didn't do. And this is one of the things that in my seats, I had to watch my mouth around the little ones because I wanted to go screaming on this play. So you see this right here. Hey, no call. It's a 3rd down right here. He comes up the middle. Oh no, I don't want to get hit. And guess what? I'm a yard short of the 1st down. Now, unfortunately, I watched the game between Tampa Bay and Carolina. Here you go. Look at. Come on, man. Drive your shoulder in there. Baker Mayfield, see Todd Bowles, expects you to have some sort of contact. I was literally, and there's a field goal. Now we're giving the ball back to the Chiefs, who could actually do nothing, absolutely nothing on the with the ball yesterday, because the Raiders defense was just on fire. But I believe that there's certain coaches that get the best out of their players, and whether it's a quarterback, a kicker, a linebacker, whatever the player is. And I just don't believe that the Raiders played tough at all this year, at all. If you watch the end of the game, anybody, and I know you all did watch the game because we got a lot of guys chiming in right now, that when the second quarterback for the Chiefs, and I apologize not for knowing his name, threw that pass to put them into field goal range, McCollum and Lonnie Johnson were just standing there, they were standing him up, but they were like trying to bring him down. I don't know if they didn't know whether they were going to go for the ball, but heck, if you're a Brian Flores guy or a Todd Bowles guy, you're going to drill the guy and compete. I didn't see that from the compete team this year. I didn't see anybody drilling anybody. Devin White was possibly him and Palomau every once in a while. I would see a drill. Obviously, Max Crosby, but I didn't see any toughness from this Raider team this year at all.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And look, it's the end of the season. People know they're not going to go to the playoffs, so it makes sense for players to not have the same buy-in. But when you have a coach that's preaching buy-in, we've heard this before, where even though the coach doesn't have a great record, you want to play for him. I've heard that about guys like Rex Ryan, where even though we were on teams where we didn't have the greatest record, we still went out there and played hard. We loved our coach. We wanted to run through a wall for their coach. And look, I know guys like Max Crosby are going to say, man, I love my coach no matter who the coach is. But when you start hearing that from a lot of other guys, that's how you know where people are really bought into the coach. And we didn't really hear that this year with a lot of Raiders. We didn't hear oh, man, we love Pete Carroll's, because I think there was just a lot of stuff on the coaching staff that brought out a lot of instability, whether it was Chip Kelly getting fired, the special teams guy getting fired. I think that played a big part, and especially when you fire a special teams coach, because the special teams coach has to interact with pretty much everyone on the roster, offensive players, defensive players, and you're really talking to a lot of the bottom of the roster. And I really think when you have the bottom of the roster bought into the program being coming down from the top down, I think that really plays out on the field. And when the guys who aren't making a lot of money are playing like their hair's on fire, the guys who are paid a lot of money will also play like their hair's on fire too, because that means people are enjoying the culture that's coming out from the team. And you're seeing a lot of players who just really are bought into the philosophy that's coming down from the owner, the general manager, the coaches. So look, it's a new year. It's a new season. The Raiders get to hire a new coach. Who is the coach going to be that comes in that's aligned with the vision that Tom Brady and John Spytek have, but also is going to be someone who really gets a lot of his players to play like their hair's on fire, to really love coming to the facility, to love coming to work, no matter what the record is, because they have a standard of performance and they have a standard of excellence that they want to uplift to. And you have the coach who is out there demanding that standard of excellence be upheld.
Right. With his son, with his son on there. Let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit, because with that, I thought it was great. I thought it was after the Oracle and I watched the press conference, and here's one of the things that we got to see from the press conference.
Once the offseason commences, obviously a lot of teams around the league will inquire about Max Crosby in a trade. Do you view him as a untradeable, untouchable player moving forward once the offseason starts?
I have a lot of respect for Max and how much he loves to play the game. And I've had the opportunity in the last several weeks to spend a lot of time with Max. And I think it's been well documented that he didn't love the idea of not playing football. And I think you always want that from your best players. In fact, I think that's why they're your best players. So I love Max. He embodies what a Raider is. I've been pretty upfront with that from the day that I sat up here almost a year ago. And I continue to believe that.
Is that a yes or no?
I don't think it's here's what I'll say. Personally, I don't think Max Crosby should be traded unless Max Crosby wants out. Now, we're not in the building. We don't know what's being said. Max Crosby might have told people behind the scenes that I don't want to be a part of this team anymore. And I think if Max did want to be a part of this team, I think and he voiced that to John Spytek, we would have gotten a different answer from John Spytek. But the fact that he's kind of dancing around the issue like a politician answers a question from a reporter, I think that tells me that they're at least kind of sending the smoke signals to other teams of, hey, send us your best offer. And I think they'll go through the offers, kind of like when you put your house on the market, but you don't really want to sell it. You just kind of want to see what offers you could get, what you could get. Besides it being appraised, you want to be able to see, hey, who's willing to put cash on the table for this asset that we have. And look, I think if the Raiders want to continue build winning ways, I think they should have a player like Max Crosby, because kind of like what I said in the last talking point, I think Max is one of those players who sets the tone of intolerance and sets an example for players really wanting to play their hair's on fire. But unfortunately, if Max doesn't want to be a part of the team anymore, I think they have to get rid of him, because there's no point of having a hostage in your building. And if you're gonna keep him around and he's not going to be 100% bought in, then that's going to only be the detriment of the coach and the quarterback that's coming into the Raiders for the next upcoming season. So I think that in a way, how Spytek answered that, I think he's kind of saying, hey, send your best offer. But at the same time, he doesn't want to go out and say, we're going to get Max Crosby's done as a Raider. He doesn't want to say that.
No, I don't think so. And I think, again, if before we get to that, I thought there was a very blasé, interview. I thought that the beat writers actually were trying to get him to say something. They felt like they were, trying to make him say things. There was, if you had a chance to watch that, there was several times when they were asking about it. Was him and Pete on the same page? Was him and Pete, well, and he mentioned it. Hey, it's just like my wife. We don't always agree, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, okay, I get that. And he said, if you do agree, then there's something wrong, but there still has to be the same vision. So moving forward, I'm putting your John Spytek hat on, and. Are you the team? Is this your team? Is this your team, John Spytek?
Oh, absolutely not. No. And I think Spytek made that pretty clear in the interview. If you really read between the lines, whether it was Hondo, there was another guy, Q. They asked a lot of questions about Tom Brady, and they asked a lot about, hey, what have your conversations with Tom been like? And look, the reality with Tom Brady is that he's around a 10% minority owner, and John Spytek is the GM. And in most teams around the NFL, no one cares about what a 10% minority owner has in their what their opinion is. They care about what the GM's opinion is, because they assume that the GM is the one who's making all the decisions. But that's not the case with the Raiders, because that 10% minority owner is the greatest player of all time. And like we were talking about earlier with Al Davis, and I want to hear you kind of expound upon this a little bit, Johnny, but Tom Brady was brought in for his football expertise, and because of his net worth, he was able to buy his way into the Raiders instead of be hired by the Raiders. And just like with Al Davis, you could question his decisions all you want, but you can't fire an owner. Now, I think when it comes to Spytek, one thing that was interesting to me is that Spytek said that, we were teammates at Michigan, but for about 20 years, me and Brady didn't talk until Brady came to the Buccaneers. And I was like, oh, really? Like, I thought they kind of been buddies for a while, but
right.
It showed that they had a little bit of a rekindling in Tampa Bay. Now, I think with this, I don't know if this is the worst situation in the world. I can see why people are going to be upset that an owner has influence over the team, and a lot of people believe owners should own, GM should be the GM, coaches should coach. But in the Raiders' reality is that they have an owner who is going to be calling the shots. He's going to be putting John Spytek in the GM. He's going to be putting Alex Guerrero as his eyes and ears on the sidelines. So people could question it all they want, but there's a chance it could be successful. And Tom has a lot to prove here, because Tom doesn't want to be seen as the Michael Jordan of having ownership stake in the Charlotte Hornets. Tom wants to be seen as a success story, but Tom's going to be yeah, exactly. But Tom's going to be the one calling the shots, and I think John Spytek has a lot of job security. considering the fact that Tom Brady put him in place. You can't fire Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's going to want his guy that he's philosophically aligned with. Now, I think it's good that they have philosophical alignment. It's never good when the owner and the GM are at discord, because I think that spreads throughout the team. But hopefully they're able to hire a coach that could share the same vision with them, and they're able to get a quarterback that meets the criteria that they want in a quarterback.
And I think that back to the Max Crosby, when they get their head coach, he's going to have a lot to say. He's going to have some input on whether you're trying to bring. We're not going into coaches tonight, guys. We'll do that next week because we don't know who's being courted right now. Everybody knows. Everybody on the internet knows. You can go on the internet and they'll tell you it's this guy, that guy. We're not going into that because it's not real, and I'm not wasting your time or my time or Oracle's time because he's very expensive on the clock right now. But I will say this. That Max Crosby is someone that will be a piece that lures a coach over to get that interview. Then the first thing I think a coach is going to ask about, other than the number one pick is, or maybe even he'll ask, is Max Crosby on my team next year? Is Max Crosby available? So that's going to be something that's got to be detailed, and that's got to be included with the head coach. I mean, if you're going to get head coach A and he goes, hey man, you know what? I love Max Crosby, but I sure like six offensive and defensive linemen. See Howie Roseman, see Les Snead. You know what I'm saying? Or is he going to go, hey man, this guy's a yellow jacket, and the defensive coordinator I'm bringing, or I'm the head coach, and I'm a guy like D'Amico Ryans. I'm like, oh no, I can build around this guy. So that's something that's going to be. That's something that I think if they're doing it right, the head coach has to be included in this decision because he is the one who's going to be building the team. You want me to win? I need Max Crosby. That's it. Bottom line. And here's a good one. Max picked AP. We don't need Max's input. Not asking about Max's input. We're talking about the head coach's input. That right now. So literally. So we were just talking about Spytech Brady. I'll tell you what I love, and I know this is going to piss some of you guys off, but people think that Tom Brady isn't in the building. Now, Oracle, would you rather have Tom Brady doing the number one game of the year of the weekend on Fox and doing the pregame and the week leading up to you, talking to coaches, to players, to player personnel, to scouts from all the teams, the Niners, the Eagles, the Rams? These are the primetime games that John Gruden gets. Or do you want him in the office looking at film? I believe as much as Raider fans hate Tom Brady, and I'm one of them. I mean, he ruined one of my ears. Or the call did, whatever you want to say. That was just something you can talk about. But at the end of the day, Tom Brady is out there as a liaison for the Raiders, looking at other players. He's the one that's going, hey, this guy's a free agent next year. Hey, you can talk to him. You're a telecaster. You're not a Raider. And that's what was talked about when he was getting that job. They're like, well, hold on. That's kind of smelly that he gets to go in. So Oracle, do you think, and I set it up for me, this is on you. The great Al Davis right there. And if anybody knows who that is, can anybody pop up the answer? I'll give you the answer. The great Al Davis, when Al Davis came in 6-3, he was brought in to be the general manager. Okay. He turned this team around and he got a part share. Did anybody get that? Anybody get it? There we go. Captain Jack. Thanks, Captain Jack. That's Mr. Ron Wolf, who is a Hall of Fame general manager. He got the Hall of Fame jacket, or because he was a Green Bay Packer after he left the Raiders. But Ron Wolf was basically the general manager of the Raiders. Al Davis was the general manager and had the last word. But Ron Wolf had his scouts, Kent McLuhan. There was a lot of guys that the Raiders had as scouts. They commented as Ron Wolf was a scout, but he actually was the assistant GM. kind of like in reverse what Spytek is with Brady. So I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think of Tom Brady and his situation with the Raiders? And you just mentioned that it was definitely Tom Brady who's running the show.
Well, it's 2026, and we're in a time where a lot of people work remotely, and they're able to be very productive working remotely. They're able to communicate via Zoom or whatever platform they use. And I think Brady doesn't need to be in the building all the time. He has his people in place. He has Alex Guerrero kind of as his foot soldier along the sideline. He has John Spytek as his GM in place. There are people in constant communication with Tom. And I think even John Spytek was a little dismissive about how much communication he's in with Tom. I think he talks to him pretty regularly. He kind of made it seem like they talk like he's like, oh, I don't need to talk to Tom about every little minute transaction. But at the same time, I think they do talk regularly because this is Brady's team. This is a very important part of Brady's legacy going forward. He wants to be seen as a success in this role, even though he has his guys in place to kind of execute, be the ones firing the weapons. You know, Tom's the one that is at Quantico calling the shots and pushing the buttons. So at the same time, I think a lot of people were up in arms about Tom having this broadcasting role. He's going to be able to have unfair communication with a bunch of different coaches and executives.
He absolutely does.
And look, I think Raider fans should enjoy that. I think they should enjoy the fact that he is getting this kind of intel that could be very beneficial as a hire going forward. And the NFL has allowed this. The NFL has allowed Tom to work both roles. If they really had a problem with, Raider fans know when the NFL has a problem with something, they have a way of reversing that and getting things back in the NFL's favor. So, look, I think going forward, Tom does not need to be in the building. He is in constant communication with his guys who are in the building, and they're able to going to be able to come up with a plan that's going to be one where they have a head coach that is aligned with their vision. And I think that will be the best thing for the Raiders and their number one pick going forward, because hopefully this could be a season where we don't have as many leaks as this past season that we had, that we're able to get
horrible.
Yeah, it was. It must have been really hard on the players in the locker room too, to have to answer to all that from their friends and family.
And I'm glad that Spytek came out and said, "I'm the guy." You can read between the lines, but he said, "I'm the guy." He also said, "Rudy, isn't that Raider football? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying." Absolutely, It's cheating. Love it. But you know what? John Spytek did say that he made mistakes, and he said that he let some people out of the building that, as he sees the ex-Raiders playing for other teams, right? He mentioned that. So was it him or was it Tom Brady that did that? That's what I'm asking is like, you got four guys right there that were let go. And then this was the big one. That was Josh Jacobs, and that was before Spytek. So this isn't on Spytek, but I'll tell you what. This guy right here, Clavon Chason, was signed for 1 year, $5 million. Okay, they took him. They didn't re-sign him. He had a monster year last year for the Raiders, but they re-signed Kuntz for 15. I don't think I'd ever saw Kuntz defensive player of the week. People were upset at Spillane. So you got Spillane. You let Spillane go. And Spillane ended up getting a 3-year, $37 million deal. And you brought in Devin White, Jamal Adams, and Jermaine Pratt. I don't think that they ever won player of the games. So you have all this stuff. You have all this stuff that he talked about, he didn't mention names, just said that it was his fault that he let Raiders that he watched this year play on other teams. So again, is this Ron Wolf or Al Davis, or is this Tom Brady? Who let these guys go?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, is who let the, and we'll never know the answer to that unless you were in the room with the Raiders.
I think time will tell. Time will tell.
Time will tell, but I think going forward, bringing up Caleb Chase and Robert Spillane, Hobbs, Merrig, how does that impact this upcoming offseason? Because if Spytek's going to go out and say that, we are now the offseason in the appraisal period where the front office of the Raiders gets to appraise each player on the team. And the impending free agents like Malcolm Kuntz, Dylan Parham are the big two, where they're going to be like, okay, we need to assess and appraise a dollar value to these players. How much do we believe these players are worth going into if we're going to bring them back? And I understand the Raiders have a lot of cap room, but just because you have a lot of cap room doesn't mean you have to spend all that cap this year. And you don't want to get yourself in contracts where a year or 2 years later, you're saying to yourself, man, that was a bad deal. We shouldn't have done that deal. So I think they really need to appraise these players. But the big thing going off Spytek's comments is if he's going to say something like, Raider players that have gone on to other organizations and have played well, is that going to impact and create a fear-based thinking with John Spytek, or he's going to be like, man, we can't let Kuntz go to another team and have a really good season because that's going to make me look really bad. And same thing with Dylan Parham. He can't go to a team and then become a really good player. And then because a narrative is going to grow if that's the case. And a narrative is going to grow saying, man, John Spytek, he lets all the good Raiders walk out the door. And the narrative is going to be, well, a lot of former Raiders play better on other teams. So that's something that I think Spytek does not want to have. So I'm curious to see how much of his appraisals of the current players on the Raiders, if that's able to impact and maybe make Spytek think, I don't want to overpay for this player, but I don't want to have the fear of, oh man, more Raiders walk out the building and then they start playing better.
Brian Starziak, I agree with you. Kuntz can go unless you get him on a very, 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 very team-friendly incentive. We actually paid Malcolm Kuntz for 8 games in so many years. Lafayette, did he say don't let Parham go? I'm not a Parham guy, but again, are you gonna and I believe he'll get paid, so it's kind of irrelevant if we were to say would he take less to be a backup, because somebody's going to pay that guy because he had a very, very good second half of the season. He stunk it up till about 5 games ago. Then he started playing very, very well. Watch the game against the Texans, because he did play. And I'm with you, Raider Jeff. I don't want him back either.
Unless like you were saying with Kuntz, unless it's a really team-friendly deal, because I think with getting JPJ back, having Caleb Rogers there, can DJ Glaze maybe move over to guard? If someone's going to pay Parham a pretty decent amount of money, I think that's a situation where you got to let Parham walk.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this is the one guy you can't let go. This guy will go somewhere and play very, very well as Stokes. Stokes, in my opinion, I believe that him and Porter have something going on together. They really do. The Raiders are definitely decimated, and their safeties are horrible. If the one thing I could say about the Raiders safeties is Chin can do well on the run, but he can't cover a cold. But we're not going to go backwards and talk about the rest of the season. Lastly, what about Carlson? Lastly, about players on this team. What do you think about Carlson?
Look, I know Carlson had some rough spots this year, but I think he would be worth bringing back. Now, he's a kicker. He's not a guy who's going to break the bank, but I would, and maybe they do bring in some competition, whether it's drafting a guy in the 6th or 7th round. But I don't think I don't think he's been so bad that they got to get rid of him. And he's had good years in the past. Maybe there was an injury with Carlson that we didn't know about for certain stretches. But after the way he played yesterday, he certainly had a really good game. But I wouldn't be so quick to get him out the door. But at the same time, if someone's willing to overpay for him, I think the Raiders got to ask themselves, is what another team's paying worth? Is it worth matching that contract? Maybe not. But at the same time, he's not someone that I would look to replace. I think the number one thing the Raiders got to get, I mean, we know they're going to take a quarterback, but finding a right tackle to really come in and go opposite Colton Miller once Colton Miller's healthy. And then on defense, I think they need to get a every down Mike linebacker, and then allows Devin White to go to the will linebacker.
Yes.
And I think they also need to get they need to spend some money on slot corner, because having Jeremy Chin play the slot was not ideal. He needs to be more of a strong safety. And then, so having a slot corner that could come in and kind of like how Nate Hobbs was. So finding a guy like that.
Okay, we'll talk all about it because we're going to talk about all that stuff coming up. We've got a long off season and we're going to see where the chips fall. But what we do know and what we do have control of is if this is the player that the Raiders want, and they've got to know who they want, because they're going to bring in coaches to see if they're in a line with who they want. I believe just by work ethic alone, and you just spoke about Tom Brady being the top dog. I think that Brady would love this kid. I just let them know his work ethic. Plus Tom Brady loves Cuba. I heard that on a podcast.
The Matt Cuba podcast.
I think it was on the Mitchell Renz report. They were talking about him being in a line with him, Cuba, and I know Max Crosby loves Cuban cigars, so I believe that this is really a fit. But,
let me ask you this, Johnny. What if he doesn't like relish on his hot dogs? Would that
he's gone. He's got to go. Got to have relish. We got to, if worst case scenario, we'll kidnap him and take him to Casper's. Dan R 3 and 14. I don't want anyone back. Dan, I'm going to send you the copy of Gran Torino. Get off my lawn. But seriously, guys, if you and everybody here I know that's watching right now is going to be watching at 4:30 on Friday. Now, I wanted Dante Moore to lose to Texas Tech because I wanted to see this guy play against another good defense, because that would have been more of a game for me to watch. But we do have Fernando. We do have Oregon. Fernando's 1-0 this year against Oregon, but he threw a pick six. And Dante Moore didn't look too good in that game. But I'll tell you what, Indiana's legit, man. That's a great team. That's I watch this. Watch. We got. See, look at this. Look at this. Come on, guys. Leonard, yes. Leonard.
Oh, Leonard.
Leonard. He likes Cuban cigars. And let's see. That's it, Jeff. You've just been banned.
Adios.
Cuban cigars. I like Cuban cigars. Well, I love Cuban cigars. But what I'm kind of interested about is watching this guy mature since I'm a Bay Area guy. Warriors, A's, Cal, Raiders. And so watching him at Cal, he was different. He was different on the field. You could see he caught my eye. So he's going to be in the draft for sure. And now everybody's worried about this. Rudy spoken with you guy. I'll tell you more. He hasn't declared, but he's quarterback number 2 at least right now.
Yeah.
And anybody who likes Ty Simpson, I'll tell you what, you're just lost. You don't even watch football. You watch football, it's This guy's horrible. He allegedly had a back injury, but if you noticed, he was crying when he got pulled out. Did you see him on the sidelines? He was anyway, none of my business. I don't care. But Dante Moore goes into the draft next year. He's legitimately behind Arch Manning. Could be behind Sam Levitt. There's quite a few quarterbacks coming out next
Lenore
year.
Sellers out of
Lenore
South Carolina
Sellers.
too. Yeah,
And I don't believe Sayans can come out next year, can he?
he can. Yeah, he can.
Oh, because he went 1 year before he went to Ohio State. So, yeah. Okay, so Dante Moore knows that this is his year to get out. So he's going, regardless or irregardless. One of the regardlesses, he's coming out. So that's saying that's what we were talking about, Ryan saying. He's actually from Carlsbad. So anybody you talk to, we live in this Carlsbad area. Everybody knows him. Everybody, yeah, I know that kid. He didn't look good at all. He looked horrible. He looked bad. So if you're out on Friday, make sure that you catch the game at 4:30. It's going to be on at 4:30 this Friday. You're going to watch the top two quarterbacks. Oracle, what's your prediction on Friday?
I got Indiana winning. I would like to see Oregon do some things differently that Alabama did. I thought anytime that Alabama blitzed Fernando Mendoza, he just ripped it down the field on them, because when Alabama would blitz, one of the Indiana receivers would be in a one-on-one in man coverage, and Mendoza made a great throw every time. So I would like to see if Oregon could get pressure with 4, and Oregon is able to have 7 guys in coverage in zone, because I think that would be a different look for Fernando Mendoza, and I'd like to see how Fernando Mendoza is able to deal with that adjustment. I always like to, in college, whenever we get to see teams play each other twice, because it almost turns into like this being a division game. Yep. Because when you play a team in September, if you're the Raiders and you play the Broncos in September, and then you play them again in November. In November, you get to go back to that tape in September and analyze, man, what are the things we could have done differently in this game to really attack the quarterback? So that's what Oregon's going to do. They're going to look at that game tape from earlier in the season, and they're going to say, what should have we have done to Fernando Mendoza that we didn't do, and how can we go and execute that for this Friday? So it's something that I'm very interested in. But I think this Indiana team is a machine, and I'll say this: I think the Raiders, if Indiana does win the whole thing, have to at least make a phone call to Kurt Signetti to see if that's possible.
Here comes the Dan. We're going to go ahead and acknowledge that the 49ers do play Sunday at 1:30. They are the varsity. He's so funny. And good luck to your Niners. Believe me, my son's got a lot of money that they're going to win the Super Bowl. They're already trying to hedge the bet. So the varsity.
The varsity. Yeah. But, does he have a varsity jacket?
Yeah, he does. That's Flecto, dude. He was player of the year in California.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He should have been. He would have went pro, but he found Uncle Rico instead. But seriously, Alabama had to blitz because their defensive backs were so bad, and that's not the case with Oregon. Oregon's solid. Dan Lanning is a very, very good defensive coach, and this is going to be a great game. This is going to be one of those games. Again, Fernando Mendoza only plays quarterback. He doesn't play defense. And same thing with Deontay Moore. They're both the same way. They're just two guys that can that are instrumental. I mean, Fernando Mendoza only threw for 199 yards. It's not like like he said, he's more of a point guard, and he likes that. Sees the field well, throws on the run well. Moves his head well, knows how to move safeties. This guy's a student of the game. I want that. I'm telling you right now. A lot of guys want to talk about trading draft choices. Let me hear why. And let me hear it, because I'm not saying that I'm against it. But with Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and Bo Nix in our division, we just can't keep trying to get Malik Willis's in here. Or Joe Milton. What's going on with you guys and the Milton?
Joe Milton dumps relish on his hot dogs.
He doesn't. He doesn't. He's horrible. All right, guys. Well, the new time for the Mad Boomer podcast, Dan R., is going to be every Monday at 6 o'clock. We're going to recap everything. Now, if something comes up big, like if there's a hiring or if there's a Max Crosby style thing, something epic, we'll come on live, and then we will be live for the draft for day one. And we will be there the day after the Super Bowl. But every Monday, we're going to recap the games and let you guys look at your wish list, because this is the time of the year where everybody sees somebody play on some other team who's a free agent. And this is when people get paid. And if you've been a Raider fan, your life, you've seen we paid people who played well in Super Bowls, Rocky Ishmael, and in the playoffs, and oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Guy played for the Green Bay Packers. That was the returner.
Desmond Howard.
Desmond Howard. He got paid because Al Davis thought, look, he's fast. He can run. Yeah. Jeff, I'm planning on being at the draft. My son and I are talking about going there, and I'm able to go mobile. And starting next year, guys, the Dark Side Tailgate. I have my Boomer pencil paper right. He does. He probably does. You got crayon, D.
He's got crayons.
Next year, the Dark Side Tailgate, I asked Leonard and his brother if I could broadcast the recap show after the game live from the Dark Side Tailgate after the game. And Leonard was so gracious to say, no problem. Let's get you a nice place. We talked about it yesterday, and I will be at every Dark Side Tailgate moving forward. I actually got parking lot tickets for Lot F next year. So I drive my car in, and we'll bring extra. Yes, you will. We'll bring extra relish. And we will be going live, the Oracle and I, after each game from the Dark Side Tailgate. So we will be there for sure next year. We'll talk about that, and we'll get that going. Oracle, any last words? I didn't get your score. You John Spytek me.
Man, it's first of all, the fact that you're going to be broadcasting from the Dark Side Tailgate next year, that's going to be phenomenal. That's going to be a sight to see. Enjoy the food. Hopefully I could join you a couple of times. Looking forward to that. And then for my score going into the game, I got Indiana winning. I'm going to go 31-21 Indiana in the game. I think Mendoza will continue to look good.
I got them at about the same score, something near there. I haven't nailed it down, but that's what I'm thinking. It's going to be a 10-point, 14-point game for the Indiana. Indiana looks good. What's this? My ADA should help.
Yeah. He gets a good parking spot.
We got everything here. We don't care. The Boomers are welcomed here at the Mad Boomer Podcast. Oracle, I will see you next Monday, and we will talk before that. And everybody, thank you it was a big show tonight. A lot of people came through. Again, I hate doing this, but my son says I have to. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. If you like it, it's really huge, I guess. But if you could like and subscribe, that would. I think everybody here subscribe. But please like it. I guess it helps. And then Oracle, again, I will see you next week. Good night.
Next week.
Now it's Ciani to the left. Biletnikoff to the right against Marsalis. Back is Lamonica. Throws for Biletnikoff. Touchdown Raiders! Biletnikoff is having words right now with Marsalis. Fred caught that ball after quite a physical battle with Marsalis in the right corner of the end zone. He went on out of the end zone, and then as instead of slamming the ball into the turf, he ran back in about 10 yards to where Marsalis was and defiantly slammed it in the turf in front of Marsalis. The two tight ends are lined up as tight ends. Back goes Darrell to pass. He's looking for Smith, but instead goes down the middle. Chester, touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo, what a great call! 19 yards and a Raider touchdown to make it 22-3. Chester had gotten free at the 5 and was all alone in the end zone 2 yards in. The Chargers now have a brilliant opportunity to put this game away. Here's Williams to the left, Garrison to the right, flanks right, Charlie Smith out to the left as a wingback, leaves only one back to block, that's Hubbard. LaMonica back, gets fine blocking, now he throws down the middle, Branch at the 20. Branch at the 18, tripped up, keeps going, reverses to the 15, he's at the 10, he dances down to the 9-yard line. First and goal to go Raiders. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go, and hang on to your hats. Branch is still in. He goes to the right, slotted inside Boletnikoff. 5 defensive backs in there. LaMonica gives to Smith, sending him to the left. He's got Upshaw in front. He's at the 5. He's at the 2. It's a touchdown Raiders! Charlie Smith from 9.5 yards out. Oakland has gone in front. Clarence Davis is in for Charlie Smith. He's a deep threat on pass reception. Back goes Stabler to pass. Steps away from the rush. He's going to run up the left side. 30, 25, 20, 30.